Hello, hello, and welcome to my channel, 1111 Oracle. Of course, if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back to check out this video, and whether you are a subscriber or not, thank you for your support in general. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate your energy, and I hope that you come and stop by in some future videos as well. So just about to get this wonderful reading underway for you. This is all about, who you are versus how other people see you. That sometimes can be in line and attuned with each other, but then, it isn't always 100%. And it could be also way off. The way other people see you could be very different than who you really are. So let's find out what Spirit has to say. Before we dig into the reading, I'm just going to quickly mention a little promotion that I am having. And if you're interested in a more one-on-one reading, just send a screenshot of your subscription to my channel. And with the information in the description below, you can see the details there, and I will grant you 50% off any reading or service if you do that. Email me the screenshot of your subscription to my channel. And if that is still a little out of your price range for now, but you really would like to ask a more individualized personal question and receive a reading in kind, then you can just email me to find out information about how to get the $1 a question readings. Those would be through email. And everything is, all payment is with USD. Okay. All right. Oh, quickly before that, there's a really fabulous reader that I really like, and she does a lot of divination through drinking tea. So through drinking different teas, she can tell a lot of information and channel a lot of information about you and your situation. So I have linked in the description as well, just a link to her videos. Her name is Mystic Tea Tarot. She's another psychic reader on YouTube. And check her out. She's awesome. She's very talented. And she definitely deserves a lot more attention than she's getting. I hope her talent and her channel grows. And hopefully I can send some of you guys over to her to support her awesome abilities as well. All right, on to the choices. We have 3. We have this rock that says faith, number 1. This rock that says always, for number 2. And then this funky shell over here for number 3. All right, so you have 1, 2, and 3. All right, we're going to start off with number 1. And number 1, I'm just going to, the world is upside down. I'm going to adjust the camera. All right, there we go. Like my cute little mug, I love it. I'm obsessed with it. What the elf? I think it's so cute. All right, so let's get into your reading. So who are you versus how do you come across to others? Let's see. All right, so I'm going to elegantly not, as you guys know, my shuffling is not good, but I'm going to shuffle the cards in front of you so you see that I'm doing that. And then we're going to find out who you are versus how other people see you. I'm not pulling this out separately. I'm just getting all the cards together. Who are you versus... Whoa. All right, then. 4 cards for you. let's see who you are versus how other people see you. So I do a holistic reading. I look at the cards holistically to get an idea, but I'm just going to show you them individually first. We have the Wild Hunt, the Hedge Witch, Cunning Woman, and Otherworld. So let's place these cards. And as I place them, you can just take a look at each one of them. See if you gather any intuitive information just by looking at the images in the card. A little bit of psychic development for you there, although you are quite psychic, even though you don't feel that way a lot of the times. Other people can see that as well. I'll tell you that right off the bat. Number one. Okay. You, on the outside, it's interesting. So what I'm getting right away is I'm zoning into this card right here, the Wild Hunt. And on the outside, you give a very different persona in certain respects. You give the impression that you are, it's almost like you give the impression that you are just always sort of easygoing, that things are fine, that you're in a good mood, you have things to do, you have places to go, you have people to see. Maybe that's difficult right now, I don't know, but generally this is your kind of attitude, at least on the outside. So people see you as generally a pretty popular person. You know, you are someone who others like to spend time with. And if this doesn't resonate with you, then at least you like to keep it that way on a superficial level. So at least on a very superficial level, your acquaintances, and the people that you bump into think that everything is grand, everything is fine, you look good on the outside, and you like to give off that impression. The thing is that underneath all that, you're actually a very deep and spiritual, psychic person. You've certainly had many past lifetimes as a witch, or the male equivalent, a warlock, wizard, however you want to, whichever word you like to use, or shaman or medicine man even, doesn't necessarily have to be the polar equivalent. Is that even a thing? Polar equivalent? I don't know. Anyhow, yeah, so you are someone who has also come from a long line of spiritual people. And on the outside, it's hard to relate. Even though you have this very bubbly energy on the outside, you have this sparkle to you when you speak, when you move, when you talk, when you look at things that draw you in, that you like. There's this effervescent, bubbly quality to you that is really, really appealing and that a lot of people like. But there's so much more to you. Unfortunately, you can't really show people what you're all about because one, you're a little afraid of how they will react. Two, you've gotten off-putting reactions in the past. And three, you just don't want to waste your time explaining things to people when it just takes a lot of energy to do that, because then people start to question your experiences, whether you've really had them or not. And actually, you have, and you don't feel like sitting there and always defending your perspective. So you kind of have turned that part of yourself inwards and sort of kept quiet about it to an extent. Now, that's not to say that you don't try to connect with other people, but it seems to somehow backfire in your face because when you open up to certain people, maybe those people then go say something to somebody else, or you don't know that person for very long, or there's just always something that prevents you from really expressing your deepest, the deepest part of yourself, which is very psychic, very in tune. Like I said, you come from a long line of mediums or psychics or healers in your family. In your past lives, you've experienced a lot of past lives as a witch or a medicine man or a shaman. This has come up a few times in my reading, in readings to you guys. So I'm wondering if you got another reading that has echoed a similar message to this. That you're someone who also knows how to work with, plants. You may have a green thumb, okay, with herbs, with anything to do with nature. You're a natural. And nature, plants, flowers seem to thrive under your care and protection as well, which is beautiful, because that's not something that everyone understands. And part of your intuitive gift in this world is the ability to commune and communicate with plant life energetically, right? We communicate in all kinds of ways. We're not necessarily talking words here. And by doing so, you're able to really understand what their needs are. Do they need more water, less water, more sunlight, that kind of thing. You just have a knack for it. So you're actually very deep. And on the outside, the other thing about you with, the wild hunt is that you appear to be completely bubbly and energetic and happy on a surface level. But deep down, you could be also analyzing everyone. As you're interacting with them, you're analyzing them. Even though they don't realize it, it doesn't seem like you're a judgmental person at all. And it's not that you are. You do this in part just to understand who you're working with and who you can trust. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's actually a gift, because it'll protect you from negative sort of energies or toxic kind of energies around you. You've learned this as well. You've picked this up just by the experiences that you've had along the way, right? You are someone with a very old soul. You've come from many incarnations on Earth. This is not your first rodeo here. You have had many shows, and you have played the part of many different roles. You've had many different hats. You've experienced all kinds of different and varied life circumstances. So on the outside, bubbly, fun, lighthearted, and that is definitely a part of who you are. But on the inside, you're a lot deeper. You're a lot more almost solemn than you appear on the outside, as you can see with other worlds, right? And you have this innate ability to communicate with your spirit guides, with other people's spirit guides. You can read people's minds as well. And even while I'm doing this reading, you might already know what I'm going to say. I also speak slowly, so I don't know if that makes it easier. That's kind of the way I communicate, just to gather my ideas and thoughts. You may relate to what I'm saying. It may be the same for you, or it may be the complete opposite. I'm also getting that it's either you relate to what I'm saying, or many of you just, you talk quickly. You've got a lot of things to say, and that's part of the way you learned to get along with others. Was you're going to say a lot of things, you're going to speak fast, and that will be a good way to entertain those around you. And like I said, if that resonates, great. If not, it may just be that you're like me, you speak a little slower just to gather your ideas and your thoughts. So you've seen different kinds of things growing up, paranormal experiences for one, and you've had a lot of interesting dreams. You see things, you observe things that other people do not see right off the bat. You observe things in your environment that other people do not see. You see things in people and in others that they don't see within themselves. You also have a great BS detector, and there's a little bit of an intimidating energy around you. Mostly people feel it when you are quiet and not talking, and this is because they're getting a glimpse into who you are deep down, and you have this powerful energy, right? Spiritual, psychic energy that people can feel. So when you're quiet, it's almost like you're responding to that very intense inner life that you have, and people might get intimidated, just getting a glimpse of it and feeling. When you go quiet, they can kind of feel a little, like a 1% of it, right? And not only are you aware of your environment, of other people, but you are also aware of yourself and the spirit world. But sometimes you get so sidetracked and so tuned in to what's going on in the spiritual realm of things, you think that you're daydreaming, but actually you're tapping into something else in another dimension on the other side of the veil, for instance. And so you're not daydreaming per se in the traditional sense of daydreaming. It's just that you often you'll zone out because you'll be standing there and you'll be doing something very practical, and all of a sudden you have this thought that just takes you into some kind of a reverie, and then people around you, might be like, "Are you okay? Is everything all right?" And say, "Oh, yeah, I just," you'll respond with, "I don't know, I'm just tired," or "I had a brain fart." But you feel that there's something deeper within you, because this happens every now and then, and you just don't know how to explain the depth of connection in psychic abilities and spiritual power that you have, right? You would be worried to share this with other people because you are worried of what they think about you, and you sort of want to keep up this more light-hearted image on the outside because it's safer that way. That way people don't question. Now, people see you as a very mysterious person anyway, where you're difficult to get to know. You're very bubbly and lighthearted on the outside, but people sense that there's something deeper and more mysterious within you, even though you don't share it. They do sense your true self. And not to say that you have to share it now, because you should be careful, as you know, and you should always just share who you are with people that you trust the most, or animals that you trust the most, plants that you trust the most. I don't know. I mean, animals and plants are always a nice break from people, I think, personally, and you may feel the same way too. And as someone who's experienced a lot of lifetimes dealing with difficult people, as a witch, being persecuted in different situations, you may also feel that animals and plant life are just, in general, a lot easier to handle. So, in response to this sort of disconnect from your outside self and your inner self, you need plenty of time to yourself. You need to ground in nature. You need to breathe in and out. Doing mindfulness meditation, perhaps, would be a suggestion. And there's also something that you have to come to terms with mentally. People are not going to understand you all the time, and that's okay. It's okay to be secretive about a certain part of you, as long as you have a healthy way of expressing it, even if that way of expressing it is just in your connection with spirit and maybe a couple other people that you can openly talk to about these things. As long as you have that, know that even sometimes your loved ones may not completely understand you, and that is unfortunate sometimes, but it is the reality, and it's okay, because on the flip side, you won't always understand them, so we can learn something from each other, and we can learn from our mutual struggle of trying to relate and trying to connect with one another when we are in very separate bodies, and sometimes that connection part gets lost in translation, right? In a sort of broken telephone where you say something that isn't quite understood, something else is said, etc. So I say, very beautiful reading, just a reminder to understand the depth and the beauty of your soul. You have such wisdom in you, and you are definitely an awesome person to hang around. A lot of fun for a lot of people. Just remember to make sure to give back that energy to you at the end of the day. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. I look forward to reading for you in the next video. Bye. Hello, number 2. All right, number 2, I'm going to shuffle your cards, and I'm going to ask sorry, I'm just a little bit of a brain fart, who you are, and also how other people see you, right? So how other people see you versus who you truly are. So let's go ahead, and we're going to shuffle. I'm going to pull out some cards. I'm just getting 2, and I don't deal with a lot of cards when I do these readings, so that doesn't mean that there's less to say. It just means that I read in a different way. I swear I don't do that on purpose, but I tend to rhyme unintentionally all the time. Oh my gosh. Okay. You see, I did it again. All right, I can't help myself. I'm really sorry. I'm not trying to be a Dr. Seuss, but, you know, I'm a poet without even trying. So we have the first card here, Blood Month. Interesting. And the Weaver. Very cool cards, by the way. Very cool cards. I like them a lot. I'm going to get into it with you. Let's see what your cards are all about here. So people tend to think on first encounter that you are a little eccentric, a little different. They don't know quite how to read you. You're different. Your reactions may be a little unconventional, to say the least. And no judgment here, because I'm a pretty unconventional person myself, as you can see with my choice of mug. And I really respect your style. Now, there is some difficulty at times, though, with people superimposing an idea of you, even though you're very different from what that idea is. Some people are even afraid of you in the sense that you're so different, they don't know how to place you. They don't know what box to put you in. And you're out of the box. You're way out of the box. You're coloring way outside of the lines. You're out there in the best possible way. You are yourself. You present yourself as you are in many cases. And some people just don't, because they don't know what to make of you, and because you don't fit into their prescribed definition of what a human being should be like. They might, act or react towards you in a way that betrays their fear of the unknown. It's the best way I can put it. So as far as the blood month is concerned, the way I see this is people tend to really project a lot of times their insecurities and their fears onto you because you're so different. Now, this has come up in a few different readings. You might want to look up the term Heyoka. This has come up again, Heyyoka, Heyoka, empath. The Heyoka in a Native American community, for instance, and please forgive me, I don't know all of the tribe names for the First Nations peoples, but I will just say that Heyoka was part of at least one of the First Nations tribes, and the role of the Heyoka was to act in a way that was contrary to everyone else in the village. And the Heyoka empath was called the divine clown. The divine clown. The clown that basically acted as a mirror to others, to show others what they are doing and what are the insecurities that they're bringing to the table. So it can be very unnerving to deal with a Heyoka empath if you aren't one, because you're basically going to end up talking to yourself, where all the insecurities that you have will just be reflected back as a mirror in that person's behavior, the Heyoka empath's behavior back to you. In this case, you are a Heyoka empath, so you're very used to this. And this could be, oh my goodness, I'm feeling this anger, this frustration of people just misunderstanding you, missing what you're trying to say, trying to put you in a box. And you don't fit into A, you don't fit into B, you don't fit into C. There is no box for you. And that is, so other people are having a frustrating experience trying to place you, and you're having a frustrating experience saying, please stop placing me. I am who I am, and I'm not who you expect me to be. So you may deal with certain family members that try to put you in a mold, and some days you just can't take it. It's just too much for you to handle, and I totally understand that. And you totally have every right to feel this way, because it's not fun, right? It's not fun to be misunderstood as often as you are. So you chose a very difficult path, in a sense, in choosing this lifetime, because you knew that you would be a game changer. You knew that you would show up with different clothing, with a different outlook, with a different perspective, with a different something. Something about you is very different. You can have a combination of all kinds of things that are very different. And you knew that, coming into a world that, in a society and community that functions in a certain 9-to-5 fashion, for instance, you knew that you would be turning heads, and you knew that you would be causing any kind, some kind of basically a ruckus in this very orderly type of traditional lifestyle. And unfortunately, for better or for worse, that does come with the territory that if you're going to be someone that is very different, that stands apart from the rest, then unfortunately you're going to come into a lot of almost just people trying to stand in your way and pushing back and saying, no, we don't accept this. You're going to have certain reactions. Now I want to pull out another card for you here to see, how you can manage and deal with this experience. Okay, interesting. I'm not going to put the cards up, and I'm just going to show them to you. So you have the Maban, and one of the words is hope, which is a nice word to receive. You have Ragnarok, and you have the Lifebringer. So if I just spread these out for you, what are you supposed to do? Put your faith into moving forward in the future. Leave your toxic connections behind And if this has to do with family, you can't completely cut that off necessarily. I don't know what position you're in, but if you need to say, if you need to limit the time that you have with certain people, then you've got to do that. Something's got to give, something's got to change. And when you do that, and when you think about, what your needs are and what you need to do moving forward, you're going to bring new life and beauty around you. So it's all about, just saying, well, I'm different, and accepting it, and knowing that, well, people are not going to necessarily understand you 100% and see you as who you really are in all of your beauty and all of your magnificence, and they're only going to see, that you're different, and so that's scary to them. They're not going to see that you're actually a super sensitive soul deep down, that you're actually a very kind person, that you would give the shirt off of your back to someone who needed it the most. You are very giving, you're a very generous person, despite the fact that you do enjoy, part of you does enjoy the shock factor that you give to others. There is a part of you that, does like it. You do like to stand out because you do like to be different. Despite that, and despite it coming across like, some people might even say that you're even arrogant on the outside, which is not the case. These people really are people who really don't know you, by the way, and they're people who are usually coming from a very low vibrational place with no confidence, who are more than happy to put others down in order to make themselves feel good and bring themselves up. So keep that in mind. What these people fail to see is that you are actually, you don't have much of an ego. Really don't. You have a much smaller ego than the average person. You would do really anything for others, and you have a soft spot, especially for the underdog and those who are suffering and struggling. So, whatever people see you as on the outside is totally a very superficial representation of who you are. And just know that when people do project things at you, it's not personal. It's more a question of their insecurities and their feelings projected out at you. And so just remember that these people are coming from a low place, and it's all about how much energy you give towards the things that they say. Easier said than done. I have a feeling that a lot of you are pretty good at just saying, oh, well, they don't know what they're talking about. They don't know me. I'm getting that despite everything, you guys are a fairly confident group, and you've had to learn along the way. But you do have your moments, even though you say you're confident, you do have your moments where you don't feel good, and you reminisce and you remember certain things that were said in the past that you still haven't let go of years ago. So I would advise you to just write things down. You can rip up the paper to get rid of it. When you're done, burn the paper safely, please. Dealing with fire, safety first, boys and girls. But other than that, yeah, you are, your fire, your anger, that fiery feeling that you have, Spirit is saying to use it in order to create positive change. So use that same level of energy that you have to empower yourself, and to know that you are a pretty badass, amazing kind of person, and also use that level of energy to create the positive change for yourself and others around you. There are a lot of people who do appreciate you. That being said, the people who like you really like you. The people who love you really freaking love you. You have that kind of energy, this sort of this love or hate energy sometimes. And don't worry about the haters. Haters gonna hate, right? They hate themselves most of the time. So you can't unfortunately compete with that, because in order to convince them that you're an okay person, you basically have to rewire their entire brain, and that's not something that you have time or knowledge necessarily on how to do, right? You can bring a horse to water, but hey, you know the rest. If the horse doesn't want to drink the water, what are you going to do? You know, you can only do so much. And so the people who do appreciate you are many. They are also people who are possibly underdogs, or people who are like you. They feel like they have been ignored or isolated in society. And what you do is you remind those people to bring out their kooky, fun, amazing selves, and you encourage individuality in others. You encourage that through just being you. You're going to have an important role in helping others to bring out their true selves to the table. So that's very interesting that you would tune into this reading wanting to find out, you know, who you truly are versus how other people see you. And who you truly are is a highly artistic, spiritual, eccentrically beautiful and unique individual that sometimes people on the surface are afraid of, but the underdogs and people who do really appreciate you, either way, whether they're an underdog or not, really love and admire you for it. So focus on those people that deserve your attention, and then by doing so, you're going to fulfill your mission in helping others be themselves. Whoa, that was quite the reading, and I hope it resonated. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next, or sorry, I always say that. I look forward to feeling your presence in the next video. All right, number 3. Okay, number 3. I'm going to shuffle your cards, and we're going to tune in to see who you are on the outside versus the inside. So in other words, how do people see you? How do you come across versus who you really are? So here are the cards. Just going to shuffle them, and we're going to pull out. I'm going to do that one again because that card came out in the last reading. Just want to clear the energy. All right, and who are you versus who you are? Who are you on the outside to others versus who are you really? Okay, well, the card that it kept coming up second time. So the card that I said, hey, you know, we already saw that card in the last reading, came up again. So if it calls you, you may want to check out number 2 as well, if you felt torn between this one and number 2. Okay, let's take a look at your cards. You have Soulkin, the Ancient, and Blood Month. Wow. All right, let's arrange the cards here, and then I'm gonna get into it. Okay, you do have a certain air of, it's interesting. Let me just take a look actually before I start talking a mile a minute here. Okay. You're very connected with your ancestors and your spirit guides, and you're very wise. You have a connection to the higher realms that's quite beautiful. By the way, you may be a medium, just so you know. You may have gifts at being able to communicate with those on the other side. You may do this in your dreams mostly, so you don't think that it is a big deal. You may often forget your dreams, so just so you know, this may be one of your abilities and gifts. It can grow if you wanted it to, but always proceed with caution with such a intense gift as mediumship, because that one requires a lot of protection, setting down your psychic barriers and all that. And I feel like you would need to speak with someone who is more experienced in order to know how to properly develop that ability. So just keep that in mind, though. Okay, you my friend. It's very interesting. Sorry, my dog is just doing his happy shake. So you you're very much the like caregiver in your family. Really, you give the impression that you're very responsible. You take care of the loved ones in your life, and they appreciate you for it. You just run low sometimes on very little energy left for you, so just be mindful of that, just be careful. But people do see you as someone who's very put together, someone who is able to multitask and do several things at the same time in order to, take care of your loved ones. What people don't realize about you on the inside, though, is even though you seem super calm and composed, on the inside, sometimes you freak out a little bit. You don't share that you do this with other people. You don't share that within you there's doubts and certain anxieties. You don't want to burden other people with your concerns. So you tend to, I'm almost seeing like you look for certain online forums or whatever to share your feelings, because you'd rather it be anonymous in a way. You don't want to burden your closest family members to you. So there may be a little bit of an issue in terms of intimacy when we talk about getting to know someone, being vulnerable in front of them. Although I totally get it and I totally understand, no judgment. Sometimes it's just difficult to share with others, especially if you are in a certain role that you're used to, where people tend to come to you for advice, people tend to come to you for healing and for reassurance and for stability and grounding, and you don't want to throw those people off by going to them. You've almost put this sort of limitation on yourself that you have to be the strong one, you have to be everybody's rock. But that's not always fair to you. Either way, on the outside, people see you as someone who's busy, who's responsible, who's compassionate, who's very calm, who's very composed. On the inside is where things are a little different and you have more nervous energy that you keep to yourself and you don't know how to share with the people around you. You are someone who you also don't really talk about some of the inner knowing that you have, the psychic gifts that you've been given, and the wisdom that you can share. You tend to keep that more under wraps. I'm thinking that you're probably concerned about how people might react if you do share, or that they might not be interested. And I'm also hearing like you just don't have time. You don't have time to just worry about being yourself. You're busy taking care of everyone. So it's almost like you just don't have time for you. And you also don't make the time for you. Whenever you do have a little bit of downtime, it's almost like you tend to find something else to fill that time with. Deep down, you are someone who is very wise, who is very sensitive, in the sense of sensitive and connected to the higher realms, to your ancestors. You are going to inherit a spiritual gift very soon as well. Just a download I'm receiving right now. It is going to bring you to a place where you're going to learn something. You're going to receive, you're going to receive this gift through some kind of a lesson on the 3D plane. So through a 3D lesson, an interaction with someone else, a situation, you're going to gain some wisdom through that. And this will open up an intuitive gift that you have always had and that has just remained hidden within you. And I think you already kind of feel it coming to the surface, or you've already felt it for a while, and you just can't put a name to it. And you're going to get to develop it more through this lesson. Part of you has been avoiding experiencing this subconsciously because, anything, it requires a certain amount of work, right? To go through some kind of a lesson and to either make a mistake or to have some kind of interaction that's less than pleasant. But this has to take place in order for you to inherit this very important gift. And once you do inherit it, ironically, well, I shouldn't say ironically, but interestingly enough, or paradoxically enough, you are going to be able to be a lot more harmonious through your interactions with others, through learning this, through this lesson. So, yeah, I think, I'm just taking it all in a little bit. But you pay attention to your dream, because you tend to be more, in a lot of cases, just because of circumstance, but also you don't know whether you're an introvert or an extrovert in many ways, because you spend time with people so often, and you also enjoy taking care of others, but your inner self is actually more introverted than your outer self, and your introverted part of you is calling you to just stay calm, quiet, and pay attention to the inner whispers, right, of spirit, trying to get you to connect through your dreams and to really just take the time in meditation or even prayer to sit there without having to do something and take care of others. Like, you can ask to connect with spirit for you. So what is fascinating is you've really connected with this outer persona that you have, and it's almost like your inner persona hasn't developed itself as much as the way people do see you on the outside. You will develop more of an inner persona just by connecting with your inner self through reflection and spiritual practices. This inner part of yourself was always there and ready to grow and develop. You just have to tap into it. And once you do that, you're going to feel a lot more whole, a lot more rejuvenated, a lot more able to take care of those around you, because you're going to have more energy for everybody. And you're also going to feel comforted in knowing that you have a lot of support on the other side. So you might often feel like you're alone, like, where's my support? This is everything that, I'm just saying now goes on the inside, and then you don't necessarily show it on the outside, unless maybe you get frustrated and there was a straw that broke the camel's back and you couldn't take it, and, people are often confused when this happens because you're super composed. Sorry for the tongue twister, I guess. At least it was to me. I don't know. But your inner self is one that you, in many ways, have been running away from because it scares you that you would be deep down so different from who you are in the 3D on the outside. And it's not that part of you isn't real, it doesn't exist, but you on the inside is more authentic and more in line and congruent with who you've always been. And who you are is a very intuitive. Each pile has been very intuitive, but who you are is someone who is very, like I said, very connected to spirit. Although people think you're all practical and very left brain on the outside, they don't see that you're very right brained as well. You're very connected to spirit. You're very connected to the energies around you. It's just that you don't feel like you have time to focus on that part of yourself. So it's almost like the inner part of you has yet to be truly discovered. And I'm going to give you the fun of going there and discovering who you truly are through connection with practices like meditation and or prayer. Without just imposing certain qualifications onto you, I want you to really discover them yourself. The only thing I can really say at this point is, since you're not as connected to your inner self as you are to your outer self, your inner self is a lot more free-spirited and a lot more go with the flow than you are on the outside. Who you are deep down is someone who is pretty laid back and artistic and go with the flow and fun-loving and spontaneous, and you might be saying, wow, this is so not what I am on the outside. But yet, if it does resonate, there should be something within you that says, even though it's so different from what I am on the outside, there's something in that just calls to me. Those words feel right. Let me know in the comments down below if I was accurate in my assessment of this outer versus inner self. But I do feel like as you move forward, the more you connect with your inner self, the more you're going to feel relaxed on the outside. It may mean not saying yes to everyone all the time. That could be the case, that you pull back a little bit. But by pulling back slightly, at least, you're going to find a renewed sense of optimism, hope, and psychic ability, right? We mentioned the gift coming towards you, just by enjoying your own company. So your psychic ability and your spiritual self, who you are really in authentically, will develop and will grow, just if you put the time, effort, and the focus into developing that true and inner part of you. All right. So I hope you enjoyed the reading, and I look forward to connecting with you in another one. See you later.